Hello, and welcome to Tartan Touchdown, Scotland's voice in conversation with the world of American football. And welcome to episode 5 of Tartan Touchdown in Conversation with. In Conversation with is our way of sharing the stories from people from all over the world of the sport of American football, which we all love and enjoy. And for episode 5, I am absolutely delighted to be speaking with, let me see if I can get everything out there, right? So, Doctor of Psychology, sports agent, CEO content writer, football player across Portugal, Italy, and the USA, the incredibly talented Ambra Marcucci is here. Ambra, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean we're fine. Like we're living the dream. It's darker than anything out here in the dead depths of winter, but it's fine. We are keeping on. But I'm hopeful it's warmer where you are in the world than it is here right now.
Honestly, it's a bit coldish here as well, but there's always a bit of sun, so that makes a big difference.
Well, yeah, we don't get the sun here really at all during the winter. But somebody who will get the sun more than I do is a part of the trio is Gav, who is our resident tall giant, both fandom and tall. So what is happening, Gav? How are you?
Yeah, I think we're overselling how much of a difference a foot makes, maybe, but it's yeah, I'm doing okay, and I think you are underselling, Scotland a little bit. There was some sun today, but 6 degrees, is maybe that's warm for us, Ambra. So yeah, I'm doing well. Obviously, this is the first of our season conversation with of the new year, and really glad to have someone who I think really lives up to. I guess that phrase of being part of the world of American football. So yeah, delighted to get kicked off.
Okay, perfect. Well, now that we have the pleasantries out the way, let's just get cracking. So, at Tartan Touchdown, our chats with guests are all about the full journey. So, we would like to take you right back to the beginning and find out your roots from your sporting interests up until now. So, with that in mind, Ambra, why don't you start us off with your earliest sporting memories?
Okay, so I definitely come from a sporty family. My dad was a professional soccer player. He did that in Italy at first when he was very young, and that's where he met my mom in Italy. My mom is Dutch. So, and later when they moved to the Netherlands and where they got me and my sister, is where he played soccer professionally as well. So, when I was about 12 years old is when I started playing soccer. But before that, I've always did, like the girly stuff, which is jazz ballet. It was called. It was a sort of a ballet, but a bit more modernish. And I did horse riding. And I still remember that day. I was around like 12 years old where I told my dad, like, hey, dad, I want to play soccer just like you. And I remember my dad saying, like, no, you're fine. Like you're doing enough sports and why would you play soccer? He was like a bit surprised, I think. But when I kind of insisted, he was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Like he was not opposed to it at all. So I think at that time he was playing amateur football, but at the highest level in the Netherlands. So he got me in his club because it was a very big club. And if I'm not mistaken, they were just building this female soccer team because at that time, it was not very common for girls to play soccer. Like compared to now, for example, now it's very, very big female soccer, but at that time it wasn't. So we started this little team and it was actually going really well. And after a while, my sister joined as well, my twin sister. And so my dad saw that we were actually very passionate and pretty good at it. So he was like, hey, why don't you start training with the boys? And we were like, sure. So we started training with the boys. I think it was like 2 times a week. So we played with the girls, trained with the girls, but we also trained with the boys. So I think from a young age, I was used to train hard. And I understood what it meant to train hard for what you wanted to do. And so I think around the age of 14 or 15, we got a letter that we were both invited for the regional team of the Netherlands, which is basically a step below the national team. So we were invited a couple of times since we were 15. But the thing was that for us, it was more like it got us super anxious. We were not very excited. It was so hard for us to actually enjoy that experience at that age. For some reason, it was always hard, and it was always like I would feel like this belly pain before going, like I couldn't really perform. But they kept actually inviting us because they saw something in us, both of us actually. But then when I was 17, I tore my ACL of one of my knees, and that was a very crucial point for me because actually the selections were going pretty well at that point. And then when I was 19, the other knee. So it was a very crucial moment for me to get these injuries. So kind of after that, I gave up on soccer a little bit, and I moved to Portugal for my studies to finish my master at that point. So I did my bachelor's in psychology in the Netherlands. And then I went for my master internship. I went to Portugal with the Erasmus program. And so that's where I basically just got into the gym because I felt like all those years I wasn't really built for playing any team sports. I didn't really go to the gym. It wasn't really a thing when I was at that age. I just played soccer and that's it. So I started building muscle, started getting stronger. And in the meantime, I got some friends, like male friends, that were playing American football. But that was the first time for me that I actually heard. I mean, I knew about the sport, but I never really met someone that actually played the sport. And these were Portuguese guys. And there was a league in Portugal. And so these guys got us like kind of excited to start watching football and understanding about football. And then at a certain point, they were like, hey, should we start like this female team? Like, why not? I think we can put together like a nice little team. And I was like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's organize a tryout. And so we did. And there was a bunch of girls that showed up at the tryout. And I remember that we were like, throwing the ball, catching, like the basic stuff. And then I was like to my friends, like, hey guys, so are we going to start tackling at all? And they were like, what are you talking about? We're starting with flag football. And I was like, what in the world is flag football? I had no idea. And I was so disappointed. I was like, what? Are we going to rip flags? Are you serious? I was really disappointed, for real. But then I was like, oh, well, right, like, let's try it. And I totally loved it. We started playing tournaments, mostly against men because there were no female teams in Portugal. We also went abroad to Spain to play against girls, do some tournaments there. And actually, I fell in love with flag football pretty fast. And I did that for a year and a half. And then I was like, okay, guys, now I'm ready for the real thing. Let's start playing football. So yeah, I started this first female tackle team. So the flag football team was called Porto Muts Women. And they were part of the Porto Muts, which was already an existing men's team for tackle football and flag. And then I co-founded the Porto Dyers Women, which was the very first female tackle team in Portugal. Well, again, the challenge, we didn't have any people to play against, no teams to play against because we were the only ones. So what we did, we would just practice every week. But for some girls, it kind of got boring. They were like, all right, we want to play. So we organized this game against a team in Spain. So we traveled like 8 hours in the car all together with all our stuff. And we went to Spain to play a game and everybody loved it. And so that's what we did for a little while. So in the meantime, there was this club, this men's club, tackle football, that asked me if I wanted to join them because they were missing some players and they had to finish the season. They were like, hey, can you join us? And I was like, sure thing. Let me join you guys. I mean, I didn't even have much experience, but I was like, yeah, I'm up for the challenge, However, the federation didn't really have any rules about women playing with men. And they were like, well, we don't know what to do with this. So that's a no. So I was pretty disappointed and a little bit mad as well. And I was like, this is, excuse me, this is like my own responsibility. Like, if I get hurt, that's on me. That's not on you guys. Like, let me just join the league. I want to play. Let me play. We don't have any opportunities to play here. So if I get this opportunity, let me do it. And if it's me first, maybe like next year, there will be more girls doing this. And they were like, no, we don't care. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do? Well, in the meantime, there was this coach from the national team in Italy that reached out to me, and he was like, hey, do you have the Italian passport? Because you seem Italian. And I was like, I don't, because at that point I only had my Dutch passport as I was born in the Netherlands, and I never really needed an Italian passport. I mean, they're both European. So, and he was like, do you have an Italian passport? I was like, no, but I can get one. He was like, well, get one because we want you to try out for the national team. So I got an appointment with the embassy in the Netherlands, got my passport, which was pretty easy because my dad is Italian, so it didn't really require much. Got my passport, went to the tryouts, and played my very first national team game with Italy in, gosh, when was it? 2020? No, that was 2018, I think, 2018. But that game was my very first tackle game because that was the game before I played in Spain with my team. So my very first American football game, like full game, was with the Italian national team, which is pretty crazy. And I honestly didn't really know what I was doing when I was playing, but I did my best.
You're just running about going, please, somebody give me a ball. I'm ready to go. Like, totally.
Yes. And I was like, okay, they tell me to block, I will block whoever is in front of me. Block, you know?
So, Ambra, obviously that being your first game, where did the coach put you in? What position?
He put me wide receiver, number 86. Like, first game. And obviously, I didn't catch much. It was more blocking for me during that game, but it was everything around it for me, like the excitement, like me playing for the national team. Out of a sudden, I have this jersey on. This is nuts. Like traveling all the way to Spain to play this game. Like I get goosebumps when I talk about it. It was my very first game. And from there on, everything started to take off, and I was very used to actually post my trainings, like always on my own on the field, doing crazy stuff, sometimes really crazy exercise that I wouldn't recommend anybody doing it now. But at that time, I thought it was cool. And I was like, yeah, I was so into it. So then that's when I got this message from the WFA, from the Nevada Storm team that play in the WFA Pro Division. And they were like, hey, do you want to play for the Storm? It was just like that, like these really short messages like, hey, do you want to play? And when you ask me to play, my answer is always yes. So I was like, yes, I want to play for the Storm. What do I need? And then, of course, I found out I needed a visa, etc. So I think they contacted me in November, and the season would start in, I think it was March, April. And I was doing my research on what type of visa would I need, because, if season starts in March, April, I will have to get there maybe in January for the preparations. Finals are in July, which means I need to be there for like 6 months. And I cannot just go back and forth. Like, that's very expensive. So,
Ambra, sorry, can I maybe just ask a question, I guess, just for the benefit of folks that are listening in at home? What is the WFA as a league?
Yes, so the WFA is the Women's Football Alliance. It's the longest running women's tackle league in the world, and the biggest as well. They have over 60 teams now, divided over the Pro Division, the Second Division, and the Third Division. So the Third Division is really developmental. So yeah, it's a very competitive league, and it's been around for a couple of years. And a lot of girls that played in the WFA are now NFL coaches, which is really, really awesome. So yes, going back to that I had to get my visa to play. So I did my research and I was like, oh my God, it can take maybe half a year to get an interview. So I will never make it. But what can I do? So I went to the page and I was like, okay, there's a button that says send emergency letter. I was like, well, I don't have nothing to lose. Why I wouldn't just try and send them an emergency letter? So that's what I did. I wrote this letter to the embassy telling them how much I love American football, how much I did for the sport, that I played for the national team, and that I'm ready to play in the US now because they want me to play with them. They want me to help me grow, and they want to, like have this bridge between Europe and the US. Like I really made a nice story to like kind of like an emotional story, like they usually like in America.
Americans, they love
Love
it.
them. So apparently that story did a great job, because I got an answer, I think a couple of days later, telling me that I was invited for the interview the week after. I was like, this is nuts. I cannot believe I just did that. So I got my interview, and the interview was really smooth. It was just literally, hi, good luck with your season, bring home the ring. I got my visa. I got my visa. So that visa says that I can stay in the US up to 6 months, each entry that I make in the US for 10 years.
Wow, okay.
So I can do that for 10 years now, which is awesome.
Booked and busy.
Yes. So that's how I got into the WFA. I played my first season with the Nevada Storm team. I was part of the All-Star team. I got selected for the All-Star team that year, which was crazy to me. Like my first year in the US, and I'm on the All-Star team. Like, how is this really happening? Like, those things to me were, yeah, emotional, and just like it really felt like, oh my God, everything that I did in the past years is really paying off right now. You know, all that efforts, all that training by myself, all that trying to set up teams, to play with men. Like, I just want to play, you know, I love playing. I'm an athlete. Let me play. And so, yeah, that was amazing. I came back and also got recruited by the national flag football team of Italy, because they were just restarting. And I think it was, I don't know if it probably was the year before. I'm a bit mixing up the dates. I'm very sorry for that. It's always hard for me to tell everything in a chronological order.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if there's questions in the meantime, because I'm talking a lot.
No, you're all good. If I can just go back to something, when you were talking earlier about your dad and obviously soccer, I think we get a lot of obviously people coming on and sharing stories about their parents being in sports and then really kind of driving that and kind of vision for them. I find it really interesting that your dad sort of had the opposite and was like, "Oh no, you don't need to play soccer. You don't need to do that." He's like, "You don't want that life." Do you think that sort of then helped you and your sister when you went to play soccer? That it wasn't kind of like a massive like push on you, if that makes sense. There was no what's the word I'm looking for? Gav was probably like screaming the word. There's none of that expectation, I guess, almost on it. It was for fun.
100%. There was never pressure from my parents in any things that we did, because even when we were studying, we were such like almost perfect students. We would come home, study until it's time to go to bed. Like, and I'm always saying we, because me and my sister were very similar. But yeah, so they never had to push us to do anything, because we were always very like, we wouldn't smoke, we wouldn't drink, we would go to bed early. And sometimes they would be like, girls, like, you can just, you know, try some things and like do a bit crazy stuff. Like, they would tell us sometimes, like, you guys are way too nice. Like, you're way too, how do you say that in English? Like, always everything according to rules, you know? Like, never
You
trying
play,
to.
yeah, you play by the rule book, and that's it. Like, yeah, I'm with you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, for real. But when it comes to sports, yeah, we were just doing the sports that we like to do at that point. But then, like, because of our passion, I think, and we went to see my dad's games every single weekend. If he would play at home or anywhere else, we would always go with him and the team. It was a Sunday habit and a Sunday ritual. And since he was always playing on a high level, even when he was playing at amateur level, it was always very big. Like, there would be a lot of people watching. It was always an experience. And I think that also helped us really, excuse me, get this love for soccer. And I think it wasn't hard for our dad to say yes.
Yeah. And I think the other, I guess, dynamic that you've touched on already is obviously as a twin. You have a twin sister who, I guess, to this day shares that passion for sport that you do. So I guess just thinking about growing up, what was that like? You mentioned you did everything together, so it sounds like it was quite a cooperative rather than competitive experience.
Yes, it has always been a thing that we did together. So we studied together for most of our lives. My sister did like a small period of her bachelor. She went to Italy to do like a little experience, which was really hard for me. It was the first time that we actually got separated, and it never happened before. Like we would always, do things together, and she was always the one, and she's still that person till now. It is a bit more like going by herself, and I was always, because I'm the youngest. So I always feel like I have a bigger sister. It has always been like that. So when she left for that period, it was extremely hard for me because I had to start socializing with other people, you know? My sister was my best friend, and of course we had friends in school. It was just different for me. I was like, oh god, now I have to like socialize and hang out with other people. But so yeah, she went to Italy, came back, and then we moved to Portugal together. So she would actually do some, I think, her last year of her bachelor, and I would do like my master internship there. We were in different phases of our studies because she left to Italy for a little bit. But in sports, we also always did the same things. Like I just stayed in Portugal a bit longer because of my PhD, and I started that female team, and she wasn't part of it, but she started playing flag football in England when she moved to England. So yeah, we always shared that passion, and then she started playing tackle football as well. So it was always the same.
It's the like twin telepathy they say. It's got to be real, even from different countries. You still know what the other is getting up to and doing. You can just feel it. Because especially twins are as special, if not sometimes a bit. Oh, that's a bit eerie. That's a bit scary. How well you actually sync up with like your thoughts and like everything.
Actually,
But yeah,
it's extremely special, and I think a lot of people don't really realize it. So my sister also got both her ACLs reconstructed, just like me. Yeah. So when she had one of her surgeries, I felt it at home. I was at home, I was just chilling, and my knee would I would feel things in my knee. It was so absurd. It was so weird. But that happened before, and it was always me feeling her, never the other way around for some reason. I don't know what it is. It was always me suffering.
it's just like you're like the sympathetic one. And
I
she's
think
like,
so.
no. She's like, no, I'm out of here. Like, I'm fine.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, totally favorite. On the subject, when you're talking, obviously, kind of about the ACL injuries. I did a lot of research kind of previously on looking at ACL injuries and looking at like how female athletes are like 4 to 6 times more likely to injure their ACL when males like in like multi-directional sports. And we were discussing kind of what we felt was maybe an option to kind of have a change and reduce the number on it. Because obviously, as a former soccer player, there's been loads of work now into women's like football boots and changing them. But I guess kind of from your perspective, especially now looking at more of American football kind of idea, do you think there's anything that can be continued to be added to look at that and limiting and reducing kind of those injuries for women?
Yeah, that's a very hard topic always. And as we see, like I think most of the female athletes that I know had at least one ACL injury. So it's really, really hard to completely prevent because our bodies are just different. And we also deal with hormones in the period where we're even more likely to get those injuries. But I think there should be ways like prevention strategies where certain exercises to strengthen the knees, the quads, because when I had those injuries, I know I didn't have enough muscle in my quads to actually protect my knees. I was very young and I wasn't really in the gym yet at that point. And to me, it happened when I was playing soccer. So I think there's things to be done to probably decrease the risk, but the risk will always be there. Like our bodies, I hate to say it, but our bodies are not built for those movements. It's just,
No.
it sucks, but it is that way. So we just got to work around it and try to prepare ourselves physically as much as we can, but also really work around our periods when we do our workouts and when we play. And sometimes really just be honest, even to your coach, and say, hey, I'm not feeling good today because I'm on my period. So I might not be able to play the whole game. Like, it's stuff that we have to start talking about in a way that it's normal and not like, oh, like you're in
Like
pain. Like,
hushed whispers or whatever, because like everybody has it. Any person who menstruates, that's what happens. It's a topic that's been around for as long as we've been existing on this planet. It's not something that is a secret topic. It's not something to be embarrassed about. It's even when, a lot of female soccer players turned around and said they didn't want to wear white shorts anymore, and people lost their minds. And I was like, well, why would they want to wear white shorts? Because you wouldn't want to wear white shorts, would you?
exactly. And that was also a topic in our national team, like recently, because they actually made white shorts for us. And everybody was like, well, wait, I don't think that's a good idea. Let's just be honest, So, and I think we all have this mentality, especially the women who are playing men's sports, like, hey, we got to keep going. Doesn't matter if I feel sick, if I feel bad, if I have my period. But I think we got to be a bit smarter than that when it comes to injuries, because we see it way too much right now. Plus, I kind of see, like, right now, it feels like the ACL is being replaced by the Achilles injury right now. I see so many people with the Achilles injury right now. Well, I'm one of them. But since I got it, I'm seeing so many females around me that are struggling with it as well. So we got to take those things way more seriously than we probably did in the past. And yeah, it's very important. It's just very unfortunate to get injuries and be out of the game for a long time. I can speak about it. So.
Yeah, of course. And when you were saying there as well about how, because I think we were quite a similar age, me and you. I just turned 30. I think you're round about that mark too. Yep. But even as growing up, I don't think I stepped into a gym properly until I was, I want to say maybe 22, because it wasn't a thing. Like, I'm like an ex-dancer, so would never have stepped in the gym, would never have wanted to be bulky, would never wanted that. And now I guess it's great to see with the rise of platforms, so your Instagrams and your TikToks, female bodybuilders and female athletes showcasing women that it is okay to be muscle, it's okay to be, I hate to use the word bulky because it's not what I mean, but, toned, good physique. Like, it's obviously everyone's all about the glutes and the quads now. And I think it's great for younger women in particular to see that and know that they can take either path, and that will help them on the road again to maybe not being as prone to injuries, because we were running about doing whatever it was we were doing with nothing going on to be able to back it up.
Yes, exactly. That's what I feel like as well. Like, back in the time, like we just didn't know better. We would just go and go and go and go until you got injured, like that's just how it went. And I wasn't used to go to the gym either until I was like 22, like you, because I didn't know, like I had no clue. So definitely that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So hopefully anybody who's inspiring, I will get onto a section later where we'll ask a bit more questions about advice that you have for younger fans, and especially women coming up in the sport. But please take that and run with it. Go to the gym, do your exercises, work on your quads, do it for everybody. So obviously you touched on it with your injury as well. So can you give us a bit of a run through of what kind of happened, and then what those initial kind of moments after that was?
Right. So after my ACLs, I was really good for a long time. I didn't have any problems with injuries. But after a while, I started like suffering from Achilles pain for a long time. And I am still stubborn, even though I have like more experience and I know more about how to prepare myself and how to get rest. I still have some issues with getting rest days when I don't feel good. I think it's just really wired, and it's just really hard to take that out, but I'm trying to be better, especially after this injury. So I was struggling with this Achilles pain for a long time, and it came and it just went away for a while. It came back, and it actually got to the point where it was tendonitis, which means it's like chronic. It would just come and go. But like there were periods where I would just manage it very well and it wouldn't hurt. So I was like, okay, I can just go for 100% again. But yeah, apparently my Achilles was not in a very good state. So when I was playing in 2023, that was not last year, that was a year before. I was playing my second season in the WFA. I was playing with the Cali War team because I changed the team just because I really like to travel and try different teams. And I really wanted to be in California. So that was the perfect team for me to join. And I played against them with the Nevada Storm team and I saw the team they were. And I was like, okay, that's the team I would like to join. So I joined that team and I played, I think it was the fourth game of the season against the Nevada Storm. Great. And I was totally fine the whole game. And I was running with the ball. I actually caught a really nice long pass. I was running with the ball. I had to do some crazy stuff again. I don't know why. And I was turning. And this girl, she pulls my foot, but from behind. And I was actually running in sort of a curve. And she pulls my foot and I fall. And I felt like this big explosion in my foot. And I told everybody, this is broken. Like I broke my ankle. I broke everything that I have in this foot. That's how it felt. I was screaming. I was like, this is not good. So they carried me off the field. And there was like a huge egg on my ankle. And so there was like a sort of a physiotherapist there. And he said, well, I was asking him, the first thing I asked him was, hey, is this my Achilles? I don't know why, but I kind of knew it. And he was like, well, I don't think so. And he was doing the Thompson test, which is like, squeezing the calf. But I don't think it was the right moment to do that. And it was not really reacting because it was swollen. So he was like, well, I don't think so. But, you better just go let it check, like see what's going on. Stubborn me thought it was just like a sprained ankle because a lot of people told me, don't worry, you just sprained your ankle. And I was like, well, maybe I did just sprain my ankle. I never sprained my ankle. I don't know how that feels. Maybe I did sprain my ankle. So what I did was I went back home and just went to the gym every day. And I was still like limping. I was not walking well at all. I was limping. But I was like, okay, like it's not like swollen so much anymore, but it was like completely bruised. It was awful. But like for me, the good sign was that the swelling, like it was going down. So I was like, okay, this is a good sign. Like maybe it's just a sprain, and sprains can take a while. And then like I did that for like a month, and then I was like, okay, Ambra, it's time to really get some answers now because this doesn't look good. But I was just scared. I was just so scared to know the truth. I was like, I'm here in LA. Far from my family. What if something really bad is going on? Because we have to get our own insurances. Like that's not something that is provided by the teams. So I did this MRI and they told me, well, you tore your Achilles and you dislocated your ankle. So you need surgery either tomorrow or you're going to fly back home now and get your surgery like really fast because you waited for a month. And your Achilles is like right up your calf right now. Like it went up all the way because it was completely torn and it just started going up.
It just floated. It's just floating.
It was floating. And I had no clue that even existed. Obviously, I didn't do research because I didn't want to know. I just didn't want to know. So stupid, obviously. But I was like, no, I want to play. So, okay, he was like, well, I can schedule you a surgery in 2 days. And I had no choice. But luckily, I had a really good insurance. Thank goodness. And so it got pretty much covered, most of it. And they repaired it all in one surgery. And they told me, well, it's going to be 9 months. I was like, 9 months. Okay, well, that means I have to miss the European Championships in Ireland. That sucks, but it really, really, really sucks, but it is what it is. And actually, I was already selected for the team. They told me, don't worry about the tryouts. We know you're in the US. You come back and you play with us. So I was like extremely happy. I didn't know how many times that would happen because those coaches were really, I think they really wanted me on the team. So I went to Ireland anyways and watched my sister play because she got picked up, which was a great thing for me. But those 9 months turned into almost a year and a half. And it was a very, very long rehab. And I think what made it so complicated was the fact that I waited for a month. My surgeon told me like that's gonna probably prolong this whole rehab, and the fact that I had a dislocated ankle with it. So that was two very complicated surgeries in one, basically. But yeah, I did it. Like now I feel like I can go back to play only now. I haven't played in a team since then. I just trained by myself or with people. But I know this is a very serious injury that you cannot rush. So I was like, okay, I need to think in the long term. Like I cannot rush this to again play again and maybe like tear it again. Like you don't know what's gonna happen. So let's just take the time and do other things in the meantime. Like you can still do things for the game. So I coached, I cheered my team on. I actually helped Katie Sowers, like assistant coaching the national team for Italy. She helped me just to, learn more about the game. I did camps in Morocco with Diana Flores and Fuzia Maduni. So I really stayed involved because I knew I was going to come back, but that I could use this time to do other things that I wouldn't really have time for. And I had lots of things to do for work. So I really kept myself busy, which made it easier. But still, I had my moments that I was like, oh my goodness, is this ever going to end? Like, am I ever going to go back to the player that I was? And I'm still a bit scared, but I'm actually planning on going back to play tackle and flag this year. So I'm trying to see if it all works around my work schedule. And if that's the case, I'm going to go back to Kelly probably in March. And then probably also have to work around the national team schedule because we have our Europeans in September. So I'm just going to see if it all going to work out. But I feel that I can finally do it. Like, I don't want to say I'm 100% ready, but I need to overstep that mental hurdle to be 100% ready because that's something that will be there for a little bit, like that mental hurdle probably. So long story.
No, thank you so much for sharing all that. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize the mental block that does come in place when you are a pro level athlete and you suffer an injury like that. And it is what the player I was and the player I am now. And it's so difficult to know where you're sitting at before you start. And there is that worry of, number one, do I know how to catch the ball again?
Yeah.
Do I know how to run? Do I know how to do anything that would have just been second nature? And I think it's really positive to hear you say that. And I always have that mentality of there is potential for a different player, but that's not a bad thing because you'll have learned loads about yourself during this time of rest and exploring other adventures. And obviously, because your work during this time has also been with the Dutch Federation and everything else that's come between that, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I'm still very involved with the game outside of playing, which is a board member of the Dutch Federation because I'm really helping them. I'm trying to help them to get more females to play flag and tackle. The Dutch Federation was always a pretty small federation, but I think in the past year we really grew a lot. And we're working on our national team flag. We hope that they can play in the Europeans this year for the first time. I'm a board member, but I'm also doing the PR and the communications part. So I'm doing a lot on their Instagrams, trying to get more engagement for the game, like trying to reach a group of people that are not into football yet. So make them enthusiastic about football. But like my main thing is always the female part of the game because they deserve it so much. That's why I also organized that camp with the WFA in the Netherlands to get the girls have this experience with WFA players and coaches, to learn from them, to connect with them, network with them, and see if they have a spot for them for this season or maybe next season, or just ask some questions. Because the team that I play for in California is the team of the owners of the WFA. So I have a pretty good relationship with them. And they asked me if I actually could help them get to Euro because they have some countries like Colombia, Mexico, Costa Rica, where they go every year to do camps and clinics. and they help them with building their national teams. It's all tackle, right? And then they asked me if I could help them like open the door to Euro because it's been a bit difficult for them. Excuse me. And yeah, so that's what we did. And hopefully we're going to do this in different countries as well to get more girls enthusiastic to play or try to play a season in the US. So yeah.
I think we're just on that. So I think it's amazing you're talking about all these different countries that the WFA has a relationship. But I'm really interested, even within the United States, what that pathway looks like. Because having spoken to some of the US women's flag players before, what we found is that they played a lot, particularly in school. And then you get to college and there's no option. And often they move into track or they move into basketball and have great careers there. But actually their passion still is and remains football, but they don't have the option for that. But we are starting to see a lot of university in Ottawa, in Kansas, is probably the biggest example of that, where they have scholarship programs, they have flag programs. I think there are some programs in California as well, but it's flag football. And I guess you're, I guess, an excellent person to speak to this, having that passion for both sides of the game, which not everybody does. So what does that look like, I guess, in terms of the WFA is there for women, but how do they get in?
That makes sense. So the WFA is mainly a tackle league, but I think they've been noticing this whole flag hype. So the different teams in the WFA, they're trying to do flag clinics in their cities. I am not sure if they're actually trying to do a flag league, or maybe the different teams are trying to set up like a flag team that competes in the off season, but they're still, like, in my opinion, a bit too much focused on tackle. I think that if every tackle team could make a flag team, that would be amazing. Like, you would have a whole new league, basically. But as you said, not everybody wants to play both sports. And that's also why for this clinic, there was, with the WFA, I made sure that there was also flag there, because I was like, I want to make sure like all girls that are into either tackle or flag are here to experience the sports. So we actually had a few girls that never played tackle football that after this clinic really wanted to start playing tackle football. And those were, for example, Moroccan girls, because Fouzia was there as well. And she brought a whole bunch of Moroccan girls and they put pads on and a helmet. They even played the game on Sunday and they were like, oh my God, we won this. So because of this, Fouzia is going to start a tackle league in Morocco because they loved it so much. So sometimes it's just a matter of trying. Like, I know a lot of girls are like, oh my God, that's not for me. That's just way too physical and way too aggressive. But sometimes you just gotta try it. But yeah, like, and there's just some girls that like flag more, and I do get that. Like, I love flag. For me, it's really hard to choose, but I'm just really happy that there is flag for me if I stop playing tackle, because I think I will stop playing tackle earlier than I will stop playing flag. And flag is also a great way for girls to start the game, like start playing the game in general. So I'm just really happy that both options exist, and there's both so different actually. Like, there's quite some similarities, but there's so many differences between the games as well. So yeah, but I love to see the growth of flag football, and I'm so happy about this sport being in the Olympics right now. I really hope I can make it. I hope, like, that I will be an Olympic athlete at that time, or maybe coaching. It really depends on on the plan of our national team. But it's great. It's really great. I think it's a really great time to be a female athlete right now. But at the same time, it's really hard.
It's because it's incredible. Because I was just about to ask you there, what's been kind of your biggest takeaway from seeing the growth even in the past 10 years for the female aspect of the sport? Like, have you had a moment where you've kind of just taken a step back and thought, wow, like, we have really moved along and we've really developed kind of in the past 10 years or so?
Yeah, I think for me, I started realizing that I didn't have all these role models to look up to when I started. I had to do everything by myself. Like, I had to pave my own way to whatever I wanted to do in flag and tackle, like it was all me. And now that I see all these girls that have us and all the other national team players and everybody that's playing flag and tackle, are all role models. And that's just amazing. For these girls, I think we are a huge motivation. And that for me is already like a big achievement, I would say. Yeah, I think that's how I feel about this whole development. And I'm just so happy that there's more opportunities right now, more eyes on the girls that play sports, more opportunities, more sponsors. So of course, like I wish we had that when we started and when we were younger. But I'm also very glad that we actually contributed to this whole movement. So that makes me extremely happy. But yeah, I think this whole thing of, I think that's like a red thread through my life, like always wanting to be showing everybody that women can do what men do, right? So that's why I wanted to play with the men in Portugal, showing everybody that it's possible, right? And I obtained my sports agent license for soccer in this case, because I thought there were too many males doing this. And with my background in soccer and with my background in psychology, I was like, I think I can make a really great sports agent, because I will not only focus on the business side, but I will also have this like human approach because of me being a female and my background in psychology. So it was pretty funny because well, at first you could just be a sports agent by registering and paying a fee. But since last year, 2023, sorry, 2 years ago, oh man, that's still
It's hard. I go to work every day and I'm like, 2024. Oh, nope, that's 5.
Yes, so in 2023, they changed the regulations for agents and we had to make an exam. So without passing that exam, you wouldn't be able anymore to be a sports agent. So I went to Chicago to do the exam, and there was this enormous room full of men. And I was there with probably 3 females. I was so I felt so intimidated, and I was one of the last ones getting into the room, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And they put me all the way in the front, and I was like, oh my goodness, are you for real? But I was like, okay, this is fine. I mean, this is really cool. If I can make this is amazing. And so actually I got in touch with a few men that were sitting there. They were actually really nice. So I got calmer and we made this exam. I passed, only 50% passed. And I passed the exam and I was extremely happy. I was like, yes, you see, like we can do this. We can do this. Like, why can we not do this? But I did see a lot of men like looking at me like, what is she doing here? You know, like you get those looks. I'm sorry, Gav. I'm just my experiences.
Just to ask you a question, Amber. Sorry, is the test just is it a written exam? Is it?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yes, correct. So it's a written exam. It's 20 questions, and you have a pass rate of 75%. Yes, and it's multiple choice, but you also have to like do calculations and stuff. Like we had to study like 500 pages of regulations and rules. It was awful. I would never think that I would even make it, but I was like, you know what, like we're gonna do this, and so I did. And that's also like I really want to represent females in sport. Like I also want to represent men, and I do. But I think I really want to help females get what they deserve. And right now, I can't do that for football because it's not a thing. So I started with soccer, with my network, and with my dad. But actually, this week, spoiler, I am thinking about getting my NFL agent license. Let's see.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
Yeah.
so a little bit of a secret because I'm trying to understand if my colleges are accredited or not. Like they make it a bit difficult for foreigners to apply. But I'm like, I want to do this. I just want to try. Like, it's a nice challenge for me again. And why not? And I really feel like we need more girls in certain positions, more coaching, more managers, more agents, like we just need more girls in the game. And I think it's really sad if we lose all these players that are actually playing the game and then just go do other things. Like we have to motivate them to stay in the game and like use their experience as a player, and even like with the IFF tournament, it was the World Championships in Finland this August, where I was, assistant coaching with Katie Sowers, our head coach. She told me when she was in the conference room with all the coaches, with all the head coaches, that there were only men. There were just a few females coaching the national teams. And she spoke and she said, I really hope that in the next years we're going to have more females here. Like, I don't want to like be this feminist because I'm not, but I do feel like we deserve it just as much as men do.
It must be a really difficult situation, I guess, because I think you're absolutely right that certainly I speak from my experience of seeing flag in the UK and Scotland in particular, and I guess it almost initially it feels a little bit like it's paying it forward. You've guys who now want to take the time to invest their experience and their knowledge in getting women playing the sport and helping them to be successful. But actually, that next step becomes okay. You've kind of been the part of that, blazing that trail. I wouldn't want to steal credit, but having done that, how can you allow women to move on to that next stage? And I think definitely we're seeing that in the UK. There's a number of women that have been appointed as coaches of the under 23s in Great Britain team. It's either under 23s or under 21s. But obviously then it's the next stage is, well, how do you get to the full national stage and how do you spread that out beyond that?
Yeah, no, and I get it. I know that the history is that men were doing this, so it's normal that there's just not so many girls right now, and that a lot of knowledge is with the men. But I think nowadays we do have quite some girls that can actually be head coaching, managing. So yeah, I really hope to see more of that in the next years, and I think that women sometimes really have a different approach as well, and it could also work perfectly to just have men and females like together coaching.
Yeah, collaborating on it. Yeah,
like we had this year. We had our head coach was Katie Sowers, and our OC was a man, and our DC was a man as well. So that worked actually pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I need to ask you just for a span in the works, if you're going to go for your NFL license, and you could pick any of the teams. Who are you gunning for?
Oh, wow.
And why?
To represent athletes, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, that's difficult. Well, I would say the Eagles. You know why? Because Jalen Hurts has a female agent. He has a team of 5 women that are managing him. 5 women, and that's for a reason. So I want to connect with her, with his agent. I would choose the Eagles. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, why not? I mean, fly, Eagle, fly. That's all. We'll see how they do. We will see how they do this weekend.
Yes.
I think me and Gav picked them this week, didn't we? Did we pick them, Gav?
Yeah, I've definitely got them over the Rams.
Yeah, I think we picked. Did I pick the Rams? Oh my gosh, I can't remember now. I'll just say I picked the Eagles for Ambra's sake.
Easy. I mean, I think obviously there's so much for us to talk about, and I think we've already unpacked so much in the first 50 minutes or so. But obviously, you mentioned you've had an ongoing involvement in flag, and I guess I'm just curious to know. I guess you mentioned playing it in Portugal, but then how did you get into playing as part of the Italian program?
Yes, so I was in Portugal for a few years, and I think everything went through social media because I was not connected to Italy, like Italian football at all, until that head coach reached out to me to play tackle football. And since that appearance, they also asked me if I was interested in playing flag for them. So it was all through all the videos that I posted of me working out and being on the field every day. So that's how I think some players saw me and they were like, hey, you want to try to play flag with us, and that's how it all started. So it was all through the videos and the dedication that and the passion that I showed.
And I think just running that, because the Italian program, both men and women, has been pretty competitive on the international stage. So I think both of the last 2 World Championships, the women's team specifically finished 8th. Men, I think, finished, I believe, around 5th in the world at the moment.
I think so. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, very, very competitive. But at the same time, we have this exciting situation where the Olympics is coming up, but there's talk that they might restrict the field to 6 teams on either side, which puts countries like Italy and also the UK kind of on a borderline.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about, I guess, the Olympics maybe looking to be smaller than we would have hoped for flag football.
Yeah, I kind of understand because, first of all, it needs to be really exciting to see. So I kind of get that they want to select like the 6 best teams. That kind of makes sense as the first time appearing in the Olympics. I just really hope that if it does well this time, that it will continue staying in the Olympics, and that then maybe in the next years they will add more teams. Of course, it's disappointing, but I think we already came a long way by being in the Olympics. So it's really difficult for teams like us that could probably like they could make it or probably not. But I kind of understand. So yeah, I think it is what it is. But we will do our best to reach higher in the rankings. And I think there's potential in our team. I mean, we did pretty well with what we had in the past years, and we're seeing more younger athletes playing the sports right now. And with Katie Sowers being the head coach, she has lots of contacts with girls from the US that have like Italian roots and it could possibly play for the national team in the future, like younger athletes, college athletes. So that will, yeah, probably raise the level.
Yeah, I mean, I think just reflecting the worlds for a moment. I mean, the Italians had a couple of tough games initially against Mexico, obviously, essentially number 2 after the US with Diana Flores and others in that team, and then Canada. But after that, started to string together some wins. In particular, had a really close win over the Germans, which is a strong program, and even going out to Austria, who I think finished 3rd. That was only a 3-point defeat in the end. So I think once you get below, I guess, the top teams, which is, I think, Mexico, and then you've got the Japanese are really kind of up there as well now. But once you get to that next tier down, there's a lot of competition between everyone. And I think one of the themes, both in terms of what you've talked about in your work, is it's just presentation that matters. So obviously being on that Olympic stage, but even with the World Championships, we can sit here in Scotland and we can, and I did, follow all of the teams on those live streams and be able to watch 6 different fields. And, you've got the scoreboards keeping you updated. The final, they had commentary, they're in a stadium. And actually you realise it's always been an amateur sport, but an elite sport.
Yeah.
And now you have the presentation to go along with that.
Yeah, 100%. The only thing that I notice is that, like with each IFF competition, like all the teams get better and better. Each team is growing so rapidly, like more than I ever expected. So, for example, I played the World Championships in 2021 in Jerusalem. And when you compare that level to the World Championships in Finland in 2023, there's a huge difference. I was so surprised to see all those teams that competed back then to like be on this higher level. It was really incredible to see like how much every team in Europe is growing. Like Mexico and US, we know, but even in Europe, and as you said, Japan and China, even like it's insane. So it's really, really nice to see. And you're also seeing more athletes because back then you had some, I don't want to say non-athletes, but maybe a bit less athletic people playing. And now you really see athletes playing, so that it's incredible. Like it's really, really nice to see.
I guess kind of looking forward for you for 2025 and obviously coming back to play on that national level again. How are you feeling for that, and kind of what are your goals kind of, and what's the hopes for you for this year?
Yes, so for me, I would love to play at least this year like a successful tackle football season in the WFA Pro with the Cali War. That for me would mean a lot. I still feel like I didn't show my all in those 1.5 years that I played in the US. So that for me is a big goal. And then, of course, I really hope that I can have my spot back in the national team for September because I had missed out a lot of tournaments because of, first of all, it was like the 2022 World Games was a choice because I choose to play tackle instead of flag. 2023, I had my spot but got injured. 2024, still injured. So now I'm like, I really hope that there's still a spot for me. And if there's better athletes than me, for sure, like I would definitely not be mad about it because that's part of the game. And there's younger players that are getting into the game, so I totally get it. But I would love to play at least like, one more big international tournament with the national team. That would mean a lot to me as well. So I'm going to do my best and I'm going to try as hard as I can to be on the team again.
For sure. Yeah.
And maybe just one thing I want to ask. There is actually so much we could talk about. And there's one other point I do want us to move on to, but just obviously talking about, I guess, the various different scenes that you've experienced across the world. Maybe one area we've not talked about yet is I guess, the domestic game in Italy. So you're obviously currently based in Perugia. What is the kind of level of competition like locally for you?
Yeah, so when I got here, there's still no teams for me to actually join. So when I came here for the first time in 2021, I guess, yeah, I actually joined a male tackle team in third division here in Italy because there was no other team nearby. It was a team from Perugia, which is like 40 minutes by car for me. So that was the nearest. I was like, okay, well, I'll just join this team. So I practiced with them during COVID and after COVID, which was amazing for me. And also there, they had asked me to play with them. Was impossible. They tried. It wasn't possible. So I just practiced with them. And then I would actually travel to Milan, which is 6 hours by train, to join at that time it was the Tempeste. So I played flag football with them. But for now, like I have such a busy schedule that I cannot do that anymore. Like at that time I was a bit younger, like I would just travel to Milan and play and come back. And now I have so much work and other things to do that it's not so easy for me to do that anymore. But I am actually planning on trying to join some tournaments with the Mad Cats this year, which is basically the Tempeste from back then. They started a whole new team with Nausicaa and the other girls. So I'm probably joining them for a few tournaments or games if I can, if my schedule allows. But right now I'm doing a lot by myself, first of all, because of my injury. And second, because there's literally no teams nearby. So it's really, really difficult for me. I always had to travel to play. I would sometimes just join international tournaments with international teams just to play somewhere. Like I traveled to Egypt to play with a Moroccan team. Like it was a lot of traveling for me. And it has always been like that because again, like I built my whole life around football, my work. That's why after my PhD, I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. Like, I don't want to be a researcher. Like, it's really nice. Like, yes, I studied so many years for this, but you know what? I love sports. So then I kind of found out that like sports, management, psychology, I wanted to blend that into something. And that's actually what I did. And I'm really, really happy with everything that I created since then. So, and like I can always use my PhD if I want to. But right now, I just have it in my pocket.
just casually a doctorate in pocket. Like, what a fun phrase. Like, I could never imagine just saying that. We should have doctor on your jerseys.
Oh, I should do that. Dr. Marcucci. That would be hilarious.
Of course you should. Like, it's the most expensive jersey I've ever gotten ever.
That is so funny. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm thinking like, if I'm going to get married, hell no, that I'm going to give my name away. I earned that doctorate.
No. I mean, I have a master's in science. It's not actual science. It's not like an actual science, but it's fine. No one has to know that. But I got married in July, and I wasn't taking his name. No.
You see, I'm not the only one thinking that.
No, it's really. I actually think it's a lot more common than people think it is. I have no desire to take my husband's name. God love me. He's probably upstairs being like, "What are you talking about on this podcast?" But I was like, I love my name. I only have a sister. I don't have any brothers. So there is no carrying on of the legacy. And then my dad unfortunately passed away in 2023. So I was also like, I ain't giving that up. I was like, no, no. And my name's a solid. Sorry, Jamie, if you're watching this, which you should be, because you should be supporting your wife. But no, I
Well,
was like, no.
I'm really glad that you said that because I kind of felt bad when I said it. I was like, oops, but thank you.
Yeah.
No,
No. Don't do
not
it.
at all.
Don't do it. Sorry to anybody listening for Ambra's future, but no, don't do it.
My wife double barrels, and I have no opinion either way.
Okay, no problem.
I couldn't double barrel though. It was MC and MC. That would be horrible. Nobody wants mixed squared. Oh my, no. But to come back, I suppose, to kind of more, well, obviously, I mentioned the other things we really want to talk about. Can you kind of go through, obviously, your kind of future kind of work and stuff at the moment, and your work, especially with All 22?
Yes. Okay, so All 22 is a scouting website, basically. They have a huge database of all male players that play American football and flag football, like a huge, huge database. We have scouts that are NFL licensed, and they go to all the big showcases, all the big tournaments to scout players. So this platform shows all their information, but also, for example, they can do a psychological test. So it's like a really elaborated platform, and that's why I loved it so much, because it's more than just height, weight, and your 40-yard dash time. It's a lot more. So they actually travel to combines and do the testing themselves. So it's verified testing and it's professional testing. So yeah, whereas with other websites, people can just put in like what's their 40-yard dash, what's their vertical jump. This is really verified data. So actually they contacted me if I wanted to help them build the women's side of the platform. And I was like, yes, of course, this is so much needed because again, like there's so many girls playing that we don't know of. Like why we don't just give them like a platform to showcase themselves or give them opportunities to play somewhere else, to coach, like to have other opportunities in football. Because I really feel like there's no place where women can look for opportunities in American football. Right. So that's what we're doing right now. Like we already did a few tryouts. The first one was in the Netherlands, and the next one is going to be in Morocco for their national teams. So we're combine testing these girls, and we're putting them in the platform, and we're going to also help them with whatever they need help with. So it could be playing abroad or coaching. We also do like coaching certifications. But sometimes we even do like equipment donations because we have we work together with different organizations that can help donate equipment to countries that don't have the tools and the resources to get equipment. So that's what we did already in Africa. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. And we also really want to tell their stories like you guys do. So we want to give them like a bit of a platform, like, hey, who are you? And why do you play football? Where do you play football? We want to show their highlights. So we really want to give them a place to ask questions or to connect with teams, right? To connect with teams. Because even with me, like all the opportunities that I had was just through social media, just because I had my videos out there. But there's girls that don't do that or don't want to do that. Like they're not so social or don't want to use social media like that. But they're still great players and they still want to play abroad. So this is our way to actually like make a platform where we can have all these players and make them connect with each other. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We actually just started a year ago with the female side of the platform, and we did some great collaborations already with Jen Welter. We went to her Gridiron Girls camp. We actually just partnered with the GFFL, which is the very first paid flag football league in the US that's going to launch next year, females and men. So we're really making big moves, and I'm super, super excited. Like we do this just because we love it. Like this is just a thing that I do voluntarily with this team of All 22 that we love this and we think the girls deserve this. So yeah, I'm really excited about everything that we're trying to do. And I think this year we're going to focus a lot on helping the national teams develop. With the Olympics coming up, we want them to have like this platform where coaches can also have their rosters, because what happens often is that there's a coach coaching a team, he or she leaves the team, and all the data, everything goes where? Nowhere. So we want to have this infrastructure, we want to have this platform where all the information stays and stays updated. So when, for example, one player gets injured, a coach knows where to look for another player, same sort of player. So we're really trying to get all that information in one spot.
I think it's really powerful both on the individual level, but also think about it kind of in its aggregation. So, I mean, by day, I'm a technology consultant, so I'll always preach about the importance of data. But actually, once you have that, you have that to show. Look how much of a demand there is for this sport. I guess for like a lay person who just kind of looks as, American football as being 32 NFL teams and there's the colleges and that's about it. You can actually turn and say, no, there's lots of women out there, not just who want to play football, but who are already playing the game. This is how big your market is, and really help to build, as you say, the infrastructure and create those pathways.
Yes.
So I think it's really, really impressive.
Yeah, and I think it's really needed as well. With this platform, you can obviously see, like, if they were combined tested by us, you can see their numbers, but you can see their nationality, for example. So imagine Katie Sowers is looking for a player that has the Italian nationality, is a wide receiver with 5'9" height, etc. She can go onto the platform, put all of that in, and see if she can find someone. Like, otherwise it gets really, really difficult to find the right players. Plus, I do think that there's lots of players in other sports, for example, soccer and rugby, that could perfectly convert into American football players. So that's also something we're looking into. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this whole idea and what we're doing. And it's all because we love the game and we want to give females these opportunities to develop and to have all these national teams having a spot where they can build their teams and build their infrastructure and build a program, not just preparing for one tournament. It's like building this whole program for the Olympics, for example.
I think that's really cool. Like, again, as somebody who comes from a performance background, we have those things in place. Like, that's an online, you put your CV on it, you put your show reel on it, you put your vocal reel on it. It's got your height, it's got your hair color, it's got your playing age. And I've never really thought about it applying to other things until obviously we just had this discussion, but it makes perfect sense to have a platform that's not for performers, but it is for sports. And I sort of can't believe it doesn't exist, like, really, until kind of the past couple of years. I just don't know why you wouldn't have it. It makes perfect sense to me why it would not be there.
Yeah, exactly. And especially with this whole development in females playing football, like, we need this to see how many there are out there, So let's see. Like, I'm really excited, and I cannot wait to see how this is going to go and how many girls we're going to have on the platform and how many girls are going to get more opportunities because of the platform. So
yeah, perfect. Well, I guess to start to unfortunately wrap up, because we could yap all night, as I like to say. We do this a lot when we record things and then jump off and we yap for 25 minutes and then we go, gosh, right, time to go to bed. See you later. But I guess to round up, and I know there's loads of advice all the way through this podcast for young players, in particular women players that are listening to this right now. But I guess and it's going to be so difficult, so we can take as long as you want to answer it, but what is the one piece of advice that you wish somebody had shared with you when you started playing American football?
Okay, yeah. So the biggest piece of advice that someone gave me?
That you wish somebody had given you.
Oh, that they wish they had given me. Oh, that's a very difficult one, yeah.
You can have a couple of pieces of advice. I'll let you have more than one if you want to.
I've prepared this because I saw it in the list. I think one of them, it might be super cliche, but it's just really not giving up on whatever you want to do. And regardless if you're a female or a male, you can do anything you put your mind to. So if you want to play football, you can play football. Like, for example, I I went to coach in Morocco, where girls are, I don't like, they don't have the same opportunities as men have in a lot of um, things that they do in general, like in their daily lives. So I gave them a workshop on emotional intelligence. Like after the flag football day, we did like at night, we did a empowerment workshop where, I mean, this is not really answering your question, but I just wanted to like kind of.
It's all connected. No, Bill, give me the background. Give me the background.
Yes, there's a lot of girls there that were actually really from poor social economic background. Some of them were actually wearing the hijab, others were not. But in that room, they were allowed to take off their hijabs. They did, and they felt really free to talk because I noticed that they had a hard time expressing their emotions, and some of them had a hard time telling their parents that they were playing flag football. Like they couldn't really tell their mom that they were doing this. They wanted to do it, but their mom wouldn't understand. So I wanted to tell them like, hey, you are okay and you can just express your emotions. Like it's okay. You're a girl. It doesn't matter. Like you're worth it and you can still talk about your emotions. If you want to do this, you can do this. This is a sports and the sports is for everybody. So I think that session was for a lot of girls really, I think it was opening their eyes a little bit because I think most of them were really quiet, but you could see that they loved what we were doing on the field. Like they put so much effort and passion in it. You saw like the smiles, like it was so nice for me. And then when we did that session, like I was really trying to teach them like ways to open up. Like how would you describe your emotions right now? How were you feeling on the field? Like just different scenarios. And I saw like that they had difficulty sometimes, but some of them were really opening up and you could just see that they were not used to it at all. So, yeah, like what I wanted to tell them really is you can do anything you want. It doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy. Like I know you're in a different culture where girls are not supposed to be doing certain things, but you can. Like that's why we have this academy here in Morocco that I helped build Fuzia, the Weekend Academy it was called. And since then, like there's this huge development of girls playing flag football in Morocco, and now it's starting to be really normal. So I think maybe even more girls are getting the support that they needed from even the boys, but also from their parents, because I think also they see Fuzia, which is a really big person in Morocco and in American football, and this is a girl they look up to, and it's a great person to look up to, like a real role model. So I think it gives them also hope. Like there's a lot of hope for them to either play flag football or do what Fuzia is doing with football, like get into the NFL one day, be a coach. So I think girls can play any sports they want to, even if it's a male dominated sport. That's probably something, yeah, I want to tell them, and start playing flag football to get like a sense of the game. And then if you want to like transfer into tackle football, go ahead. But I would really recommend to start playing flag football to have like a feel of the game, to get the rules, start playing without physical contact. And then if you're ready for it, you can start playing tackle as well, because there's lots of opportunities. And I think that in the near future, there might be a paid women's tackle league at some point. So I really suggest anybody just to try it, because just watching it is not the same. Try it and then come back to me and tell me if you liked it or not.
Won't hear any opinions until you catch or get a pass handed off to you.
Right. Exactly.
I guess as well, just can always note about how you can be anything you want to be. Like I guess for a lot of these girls, you would never have thought that those were possibilities until people like yourself go to them and show them what is possible.
Yeah.
And that must be really kind of inspiring for yourself, I guess, to take that back. And
yeah. I think it's something I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Like those experiences in Morocco were really, really heartwarming for me, because these girls were so grateful that I was there. So grateful for me teaching them a bit of English while I was teaching them flag football. I was there for like 3 months to help Fuzia with the academy and just start it all up. And these girls write me till today, like, "Hey, coach, we hope you come back. We miss you and we love you." They're just the cutest. Like, they are so extremely grateful, like, incredible. And I'm just so happy that I could just help them a little bit with whatever it was, like being a bit more secure, like a bit more, how can I say that? Be a bit more determined, know what they want. Like maybe they needed that little push from someone outside of their country that is doing things in football. I don't know. Sorry, I'm starting to
Yo, yeah,
like,
No.
language is not
yeah.
good anymore.
It's also, I guess it's also that they don't, even if they don't go on to use that in their sporting life, they can take that onto their personal journeys, and they may find an opportunity that they never thought was once possible, but what you have just instilled in them, they can apply and carry that on in their own personal life. And I think that's a really incredible thing that
Thank
you
you.
and Fuzzy
Yeah,
have been
I really
doing.
hope so. I really hope so. But yeah, thank you.
Well, I guess on that very heartwarming note, that is unfortunately us for this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure, Ambra, to talk with you. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as me and Gav have enjoyed it.
I loved it. Thank you so much for the great questions. It got really deep, and I loved, this whole podcast. It was really different from others. I got a lot of time to talk about the things that I wanted to talk, the more in-depth stuff. So thank you so much for taking that time. That's really much appreciated.
No, you're so welcome. Anna, where can people find you on your social media? Give them your handles, so we'll put them in below as well. But hit them up. Where can they find you?
Yes, so I'm mostly active on Instagram, which is Ambra Marcucci. It's just my first and my last name all together.
And listen to somebody actually speak the language, actually pronounce it properly, and not me do it wrong. But yeah, all that's left is to also thank Gav for joining. As on the day we have, well, when I think this is Monday. What day is it today?
It is Thursday. By the time we'll be dropping this on a Monday, but today is Thursday.
Today is Thursday. Gosh, you can tell it's that point. I feel like it's the point between Christmas and New Year where you don't know what's going on. Oh, never knowing what's going on.
Very confusing time. I agree.
But yeah, no, it's been great. I think I think to sit and we talk about it's been a conversation, but even just to sit and listen, I think it's been great because we've covered so much, and I think we know that there's so much more we could talk about, but it gives us a great reason to have you back in the future, Ambra.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really happy with this interview, and I hope to talk to you soon again. That would be nice to have another podcast, maybe in a few months, or maybe
Yeah, okay, we will hold you to it. Like, we will write that down. We'll get that all sorted. But yes, please keep an eye on our social media. You can find us at Tartan Touchdown for any upcoming guests we have. We have loads of very, very special people. Obviously, we have just spoken to one, but we have even more incredible people coming up. So please keep an eye on our social media for that. And I guess for now, it's goodbye.